Many SARA Super Series drivers call this racetrack home, meaning it means that much more to everyone in this race. Not only do drivers want to win here, other drivers want to beat those drivers here. Oxford Plains is a big one for a lot of these drivers in this field, and for some, they'll be racing here this weekend. Ryan Kuhn, we're looking at you. Welcome to Pit Stop TV, and welcome to virtual Oxford Plains Speedway. My name is Andrew Cardinale IV, and I've got Zach Murtis joining me this evening. We are in for a treat. This is race number 10 of the SARA Pierce Fleet Service Super Series. It's a Hyde's Pride Leather and Sheepskin 150 here at Oxford Plains. And of course, this broadcast is brought to you by Hyde's Pride Leather and Sheepskin, Pierce Fleet Service, and Whiplash Sim Cams. Zach, it's good to have you back another week in a row. Hopefully we keep this streak going. Of course, Road to Pro this evening, a little earlier on. The NFL draft happening now, and well, all of you are, not only is Zach here joining us, but all of you are watching this evening. We really do appreciate it as qualifying is, wrapping up here this evening at Oxford Plains. Let's talk about this track, of course, as we do every week, Zach. This is the one track not the one track, but the one on iRacing that is not Centripetal Circuit that I feel like you can actually call a circle.
I wouldn't call it more like a circle. Maybe an egg. It just kind of looks like an egg to me. It's never really had, we'll say, the most ovalish shape because it has a few characteristics like a lot of local short tracks you see in North Carolina, South Carolina, Pennsylvania, where it's got the characteristic of 1 and 2 is a little different from 3 and 4. The backstretch and the front stretch aren't totally straight, to be perfectly honest. And I mean, there are just so many different characteristics that Oxford Plains has that makes it such an interesting racetrack. And I think, these drivers tonight, they're going to be challenged. You've got a few of the official series that are here this week that they've had the chance to practice on. And, it's offered them quite the interesting field to really take in and see what they can do differently compared to something like a late model stock car when they're running a super late model here. So we'll see how everything goes. And unlike last week where Ryan Kuhn had the super late model track record, he's got a track record here, but that's in a legend car.
Yeah, again, this track will mean a whole lot to some drivers this evening, and to those that aren't local to Oxford Plains, it'll mean that much more if they can beat those locals here. And you know what, right on your point of this track being an official series this week, this was also on the Contender Series schedule, I believe, last night, and they had, of course, their 3 or 4 splits or whatever, and guys were able to take part of that race, so, excuse me. You do have some double dipping there, and I think the league as a whole is going to be well warmed up to this place. They go here a lot. It's good to see Oxford Plains on the schedule. Let's talk about points, though, and the guy who just went quickest here in warm-up is very, very important to the story. Zach, if you recall, last week at Slinger, we were so pumped up, so excited about that finish between Jacob Harberts and Cole Cabry. Cabry at the time was the unofficial winner, and that's why in the graphic it says unofficial, because league admins went back and looked at the incident between Harberts and Cabry and looked at the league rulebook. And while we all enjoyed that moment out of turn 4, and I don't think Jacob was even that mad about it, that did violate clean passing regulations within the Sim Auto Racing Association. And those rules, while sometimes they get in the way of fun, they are there for a reason. Right, so we enjoyed that finish. It looked real cool to us, but they are there for a reason, and they're to protect Jacob Harberts in that case, because if you were in the 80 camp, you wouldn't be that happy. While you wouldn't be that mad, maybe, you wouldn't be that happy about that situation. And to promote clean passing, while Cole Cabry was just being a race car driver doing what he had to do to try to get to the checker flag first, there still is that rule in place for a reason. So his position was bumped down 5 spots to 6th position. All of those 5 moved up. So now there is a win in the win column for Jacob Harberts. So it does change a lot. It actually brings Jacob Harberts from 21 points out to 13 points out of this championship fight. So we effectively now have a 4-car battle that is really between McCullum and Cabry, unless Harberts or Kuhn can finish likely in the lead, considering you have McCullum and Cabry being so good each week. That said, I'm looking to warm up now. McCullum's 8th so far, and Cabry is, well, he's 2nd. Harberts is now 1st. So this is going to be an interesting race for sure, Zach. As we posted on Facebook and Instagram earlier today, drama is at an all-time high for the season, and point gaps are getting slimmer and slimmer at the front somehow, and that's rare as now McCullum goes P1 in warm-up.
Absolutely. And, you know, when I see these points, the first thing that comes to mind, what was it, 2011, 2012 for the Formula One, where they had 4 or 5 different drivers eligible for the championship. I think it was up to 6 drivers with maybe 2 or 3 races left in the season. That's kind of what this is giving me vibes of. These drivers are all within such close margins of each other. And with how the points are calculated in this series, if any one of them nabs a win tonight or finishes, and then the others finish close to dead last, you know, that's an easy points lead. I mean, Ryan Kuhn obviously in that position where he needs them to finish way down the running order or have a really, really bad night. And to be perfectly honest, this is the track to do it. This is the absolute best track other than Slinger to really have a night where anyone could have a bad night. So I'm eager to see how these drivers really take on this track, considering it's very bottom line dominant. But to get to Lanier, really, you're going to have to go through Oxford.
Well, I feel like both of these racetracks, Oxford Plains this evening, Lanier in a week, while yes, the optimal line is the bottom, usually you also want to arc out on the straights, and you can't do that if you're side by side down low. So the outside line will be just as important as the bottom, and we're going to see that, I think, through these next 2 weeks. We might also even see some doors exchanged, which is interesting considering what we're coming off of at Slinger. So we might see that rule in play a little more these last 2 weeks. Who knows? But we've got 2 really cool racetracks to go to wrap up the season. Oxford Plains this evening for the Heinz Pride 150. This is the schedule in front of you. Let's take that down and look at weather conditions, Zach, because as warm-up comes to a close in a couple of minutes, 67 degrees in the air, but funny enough, the track temp is sky high, 100 degrees even, and while Maine is usually pretty chilly in April still, that track temp I think is so high because where do you see any shade on the racetrack right now? We're right in the middle of the day, I think a little more towards the afternoon, and the track has been baking in this session. And of course, iRacing now with a Tempest weather system calculates 4 hours prior and 4 hours after the session. So, it's just been baking. I mean, this is a really warm racetrack right now, and it is shorter, and these guys are turning these laps, and it's generating a lot of heat. Even on the straightaways, they aren't really straightaways. These guys are turning. So it's generating a lot of heat where usually you wouldn't have so much tire friction on the racetrack down the straightaways. I think that might be part of it, but this track temp is really, really high. 100 degrees is a lot.
Considering how close we are to Canada, I mean, can we say what's shaking bacon? Because the track is cooking like bacon? Maybe? Yes? No?
That one might fall a little flat, admittedly.
Aww.
But what would we do without this?
Today's race won't fall flat.
That's for sure. That is for sure.
Back up.
But you know what? Let's also take a look at Whiplash SimCam's race details. 150 lap race, 30 cars. Well, up to 30 cars. We have 25 signed in this evening. Open setup, no change tires. Top 8 points metric in the lineup, and of course cautions will count. And now displayed on the graphics, since it came into effect last week for one of the first times all season, we do have 2 green-white checkers at our disposal if the race requires it. Now, as far as speeds on the racetrack, Zach, Alex McCullum, top of the board, that's pretty important. I really have to imagine that he is going to be the top dog once again. That anytime he races, he's the guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Alex McCullum has definitely shown that even after being off for a week and almost losing his points lead, he's still here to show that he can still win this championship, and he's got no drop races to fall back on. Missing a week and having a bad race prior, that is definitely not going to help him when it comes to anything regarding to winning this championship. And look at our top 3, Andrew. McCullum, Harberts, Cabry, all drivers that are within fighting distance of the championship. And the one driver that I'm looking at right now, and we seem to be putting a lot of emphasis on him over the last 2 weeks, Ryan Kuhn. He is the lowest out of the championship 4. It's fun that we can say it's a championship 4, but he is 7th. It's only a few tenths off of those drivers, but he is still down the running order, and that's going to be a big effect on him.
And here is car 72 currently in warm-up with a minute and a half left or so. Best lap, you can see that on the ticker right now. We'll call him at a 14.5. Kuhn at a 14.7, and for McCollum it is a high 14.5, 14.5 and 3/4. Ryan Kuhn right at a 14.7, so a tenth and change off, a tenth actually off of Jacob Harberts. There's definitely a bit of separation there, which is interesting, very surprising to me. But at the same time, I feel like we've talked to Ryan a couple of times this season where he's talked about how good he's been on that long run. And we've seen that at some different racetracks. I'd say some racetracks that are pretty similar here to Oxford in terms of flat versus high banked. I think he's been better on the long run on these flat tracks, and Ryan just might be a force to be reckoned with later in the evening, kind of like he always is. Now, we do have a question from Misfit Productions about, since Zach, you so kindly gave us the floor here to, or guess, viewers to ask us some questions on YouTube. What makes SARA unique compared to other leagues? What's the draw? How long has the community been around? What's your favorite aspect of SARA? I'll let you think about it, but I'll answer it off the cuff. What makes SARA unique? The fact that they commit to the short track thing and they do it so well. There's a lot of short track leagues on iRacing, and I don't want to talk negatively of anyone in particular, but I will say that a lot don't do it right, in my opinion. And that's my opinion. In my opinion as well, SARA does everything right. They put effort in. Of course, it helps to have Matt Rolfe as series admin and I think owner as well, classified. He does all the graphics and everything. He's detail oriented, has everything down perfectly. That helps a bunch. But to be so diverse and to have the draw of all of these drivers like Ty Majeski, who's raced a bunch this season, Alex McCollum, who's got that Legends career going, and probably even higher than that at some point. Ryan Kuhn went and tested at ARCA Daytona earlier this year. You have several guys in this series who mean a lot in the world of racing outside of iRacing, and that is mega important. And what's interesting, Zach, is they've also been around since before they had these kinds of careers in motorsport. They've been in this series for years on end, and of course the series has been around for years on end. I think it's relatively regarded as one of the best series on iRacing as far as short track racing. There is just so much to praise here behind SARA, but I'll give you another moment to think about it while we go through the grid real quick, because on pole, we didn't quite catch qualifying. We were just behind the mark. On pole, Alex McCollum. Pretty much as you would expect, Ryan Kuhn on his outside. The two top guys earlier this season, they're right back out front this evening. Alex McCollum on pole, Ryan Kuhn second. Now, second place, or third place rather, kind of surprises me a little bit. Kyle Eli and Devin Morgan in that second row. Of course, these guys will shuffle around in the top 8 per the metric, but then starting 5th and 6th, or qualifying 5th and 6th, Jeremy Ashby, big day for him, alongside Kyle Meyer, and to wrap up the top 8, Cole Cabrey and Trevor Edwards. To wrap up your top 10, Zach, it's Dante Curtis and Daniel Foles.
Yeah, Daniel Foles started right next to him on that outside row 10, but we're going a little bit further back. We're going one more row back, and starting 11th and 12th, Jacob Harberts, the lowest starting of the top 4, I believe, actually, in the 11th and the 12th position. Aaron Johnson, who had a really strong run, actually, last week at Southern National. Excuse me. Slinger. I don't know why I said Southern National. Keith Jeffrey and Dylan Bates lining up in 13th and 14th. That is your 7th row tonight as we see these drivers going to the rear and getting up front to line up on metric. 15th and 16th starting position here tonight. That is going to go to, excuse me, Joe Schaefer and Spencer Dickinson. Spencer Dickinson, also another driver that had a really, really strong run. So we see the rest of the field rolling on through. We're still taking more laps around with the pace car. Grant Brown, Blake Throneberg. Blake is someone we haven't actually seen the last couple of weeks. So it's good to see him back out here. 17th and 18th starting position tonight. And then in your 10th row, starting 19th and 20th here tonight, that's going to be John Owlett and Matt Rolfe, your league owner, in the 800 and the 000.
5 more cars will roll by, but Zach, I believe we should have one more pace lap. We'll see. I guess we'll wait to see if we actually get that here coming to the stripe. The pace car will stay on track, so here's your chance to answer that question from Misfit Productions.
I think one of the things that makes this series so diverse is just the diverse set of drivers that they have. Like you talked about, we have legend car drivers, late models, modifieds, everyone in between is coming on in and really getting into the nitty-gritty when it comes to the short track. I love how diverse their schedule is, and they're taking these cars to places they usually don't go, and that's one of the beauties of the iRacing sim, being able to handle something like that and, you know, give us something that's really entertaining for these viewers.
Well, the pace car will dive down this time. We'll get things going. The Hyde's Pride 150 is underway. Big start from Kyle Eli. Ryan Kuhn straight to third place. Eli going to take the race lead. It is car 32, though, in the second spot, who started on pole by the metric. Immediately lost that lead spot. A lot changing out front. There goes McCullum! He's going to get jacked up across the racetrack. Harberts is in it. A few others making contact. One more in the air. But McCullum and Harberts, the highlight of that crash in the most painful way for each of them. No fender on the left front of that one car. Let's see, where did Harberts get to? He's working up the order. His car doesn't look too bad, but he was in it.
This is exactly what Ryan Kuhn needed. His competition basically being taken out of the race. I'm sure McCullum will be able to continue, but that is not what he needed with this championship fight going on. You can see Harberts has some damage as well. Look at McCullum. He's looking for somebody.
Well, I think they're readjusting. The caution came out real early, so they're trying to find their spot. Or iRacing's telling him to go for the pace laps. But let's go back and take a look as to how that all happened. Lap 2, contact there between Ashby and McCullum. And, well, it all just kind of goes on from there. You see Harbert's right in the center of all of that. Interestingly enough, I believe Ashby is... Oh, wow, and Ashby got him jacked up out of 4. Ashby's over in that RKM camp, and I've noticed a lot more RKM cars in the field this evening.
There's the contact. There's Harberts. Where is Cole Cabry in all of this? That's another driver we need to focus on, considering he's also in this championship fight.
He snuck right by on the bottom. What I got to see here is out of turn 2, the actual contact being made. Ashby got the curb. That's not even on Ashby. That's McCullum holding him down, and maybe a response to the contact out of 4. But I can't throw that on the 01 car at all, personally. Here's the contact in 4. Ashby's just kind of there. I don't even blame him there either. But he is being sent to the rear.
Yeah, you can see him pop the curb just a little bit, and it sends McCullum around, but if you're going for an at-fault here when it comes to placing blame for the caution, then I can see why they would place it on the 0-1 there, but at the same regard, Andrew, I'm with you. You can't exactly fault either driver. It's racing hard, and it's hard to keep track of it sometimes.
Here's Thronberg's perspective. Actually, Zach, we've just gone green. How about that? Cautions happen quick. Kyle Eli leading the field. That happened a little quicker than I was expecting. Back behind him, a little 2 wide, 3 wide. Lap 1 off the restart. Eli, Edwards, Kuhn, and Cabry are top 5. Daniel Folds into the top 5 as well.
Yeah, it's nice to see Daniel Folds running up there as Ryan Kuhn sets the fastest lap of the race, and now he just really needs to do some smooth sailing. He's got Cole Cabry right behind him. Alex McCullum stayed out on the racetrack, so that is an interesting move out of that one car. Jacob Harberts right behind him. Scott Eli goes fastest. Now you can really see where Oxford comes into play, is forcing these drivers on the outside line to drop on back and not exactly be able to fall in line. The aspect of Oxford that really throws me off is that it's a lot like some of these short tracks on here that are dirt. Once you cross over that seam where you see there's no wall, track goes flat on the front stretch and on the back stretch. So you don't want to be out there because it'll compromise your line.
Pretty sure it's negative banking even when you get out towards each wall on the front and back stretch. Those are the only walls we have. Otherwise, you go out to the fence on track property. On board with Harberts as he chases the one car. They are 6th and 7th, getting by Folds now, who's stuck on the outside. And later on in this race, I think the outside will come into play. Right now, I talked about how it would be important, just as important as the bottom side. Right now, the top is non-existent. I think partially due to track heat, but also because the tires are so good right now, so grippy compared to lap 150 of this race. They're able to actually be faster on the bottom outright, even though they're cutting off that entry and exit. Some moving around here in the back, though. Devin Rogers falling back. I'm really surprised, actually, that Blake Thronberg is back on the racetrack, and I believe he went purple off the restart. He is 3 laps down after pitting under that yellow and getting all of that damage repaired that he could.
Yeah, on the safe side, he's going to be the first one to get his laps back if the caution does come out, but that's only if we don't have a long green flag run, and I expect these drivers to go quite a while here at Oxford. There's a lot of these drivers do have the experience to keep it green here, and we can see all of these drivers single file all the way through. Kyle Eli still leading us by 3/10 over Trevor Edwards and Ryan Kuhn, who has been slowly creeping up on that back bumper, but Cabry's there as well. McCullum actually has moved up into the 6th spot, especially with that left front damage too, Andrew. That is great to see out of McCollum. He's not giving up this fight.
Dante Curtis, I believe this is his first start of the season out of Matt Jula's C-Speed Shop Camp. They've got a couple of drivers in the series. I believe Harberts is one of them. So Curtis, a teammate to the 80 car this evening. He's got some right front damage. He was a part of that lap 2 incident. Not a big part, but he made a little bit of contact in there somewhere and took some damage to that 03. So that'll be worth monitoring later on, maybe, as McCollum continues to pressure him. And these 3 cars, 5th, 6th, and 7th, all have damage as Cabry misses turn 1.
He almost lost position there. If Curtis would have snuck in, that would have been Cabry going backwards, and that is not what he needs right now, especially with Alex McCollum being behind him. And if I had to go off of the metric right here, I would say that if Cabry gets in front of Ryan Kuhn, that would make him the points leader again, if I'm not mistaken.
Possibly. I'm not perfectly fluent on points positions, but here we go. For 5th spot, McCollum down to the inside of Curtis. Maybe Curtis realizing where we are at in the race, and it's still early. Very, very early. Only lap 22 now of 150. A lot of laps left to be counted, so if McCollum is that fast with a damaged race car right now, let him go.
Not to mention, you can still run up on the outside and just save your tires up there. As long as you don't dip into the negative banking, you should be able to roll up there, save tires, fall back in line, and even if you know you're faster than the drivers that are passing you now, you can slip back in, as I think he's going to do it right here. Yeah, fall back in line, single file, ride behind Jake Harberts, and just find the line of those drivers, be able to save tires better and hang on to what you got.
Jeremy Ashby, the one car falling back right now. He's down to the 24th spot. Of course, he was caught out as the catalyst of that crash. Door-to-door contact with McCollum. I don't see a scratch on the car, though, but he is falling way, way back, 8.5 seconds behind the race leader. That blinking might be part of the reason, as nothing has changed out front. Eli getting a lot of laps led here, as Cabry might be searching, Zach. I know he said he missed the corner a few laps ago. He might just be searching for grip, and here he goes, the outside of car 72.
If I see a driver make a pass on the outside, I will wholeheartedly jump in an ice bath, because I never see anybody pass on the outside here at Oxford. If anybody wants to see me jump in an ice bath, I will do it.
I don't think we need video of that, but
no video,
we'll take your
but
word.
I'll show proof that I did it. As Ryan Kuhn now tries to make it work on the outside. He's on the outside of Trevor Edwards, as Cabry is on the inside, trying to see if they can make it work. Ryan Kuhn, he's all the way out there trying to find some grip.
Ryan goes way out yonder. He's going to try it again here on the front stretch. This might be... I don't think that works quite that well in real life. Contact for second! Contact. Edwards just going to save it down the backstretch. Cabry now works to his teammates outside. Ryan Kuhn left to do his own battle to the outside of the 21 car. How in the world is this working?
I don't know how it's working at all, and I might end up taking that ice bath as Ryan Kuhn is now side by side with Kyle Eli.
Wow.
Trying to find a way to make this pass work. He's going to lead the lap here at the line. Just barely.
I don't know about this one. I've seen a lot of iRacing things in my day. This is a little bizarre. I guess he's keeping momentum up by going out wide and still wrestling the car back down, but that has to be killing his right side tires. I fear for where he'll be at in 80 laps. I mean, it's working now, but how long will this work with that high track down? Still going out to the wall.
It might end up working out for him, as it looks like he's going to get in front of Kyle Eli. I don't think he can get clear with keeping this up, though, because this is just, like you said, Andrew, putting so much pressure on his tires. But there he goes, gets clear, falls in line. Now Cabry's looking to try and take second away. It's Alex McCollum now. He's looking on the inside of Trevor Edwards. Jacob Harberts to the outside.
Better draw that bath, Zach.
Maybe 3 wide. No, back to 2. McCollum.
Whoa, behind him. One car out wide. That was Dante Curtis in the 03. Now contact right ahead, and that's going to be a crash with Dante Curtis. No caution yet. Dylan Bates, the other car involved, heel toe. Curtis going to work back onto the racetrack. There goes Jeremy Ashby. Wow. That was all for, I think, the 8th spot. Grant Brown gets by. Now Joe Schaefer caught 3 wide as Devin Morgan will slide back in that 112. He goes way out to the outside as well. It's rare we say they're going to get to the gravel before the wall, but they're working on it on the backstretch.
Yeah, they're trying. It looks like we are going to get 3 wide racing here at Oxford. This is one thing you don't usually see, and look at everyone just trying to see if they can make the outside line work. This is a really interesting tactic, and I don't know how it's going to affect the drivers long term. Oh, this could get dicey, Andrew. 3 wide, 2 rows deep.
Justin Laxton now parks his nose in the fight. He gets the inside of Morgan. Morgan now to the inside of Schaefer. Schaefer going to have to go way out wide. Meanwhile, up for nearly the points lead. This is McCullum on the outside of Harberts. McCullum sliding back, Harbert sliding through as Edwards is falling back to that 6th spot, playing second fiddle to these two right now. Lap 39 complete, 40 now underway. We are working up to a 3rd distance through this race, and we've got one of the wackiest Oxford races on hand.
Definitely one of the wackier races that I've seen, as Alex McCullum now trying to find a way around Jacob Harbert. Ryan Kuhn has stepped out to a half a second lead as Cabry and Eli are now duking it out for second. Cabry looking to pull a crossover, maybe, but it looks like he's just going to fall back in line. Try to see if he can find a way smoothly around Kyle Eli.
I mean, this is the wildest line I've ever seen here. I don't know, man. Aside from street stock smash to pass races, I've never seen this kind of line work at Oxford. But I mean, clearly these guys had this working. Of course, I'm not in the Contender Series. Unfortunately, we don't broadcast that. So I wasn't around last night to see this all happen. But it sounds like maybe it happened last night as well in that Contender race. This is just bonkers, I think is the best word I can find right now. This is Devin Morgan now to the inside of Joe Schaefer, right at the back end of the top 10. So some pretty valuable points up here. Of course, Schaefer's got that win from Southern National Motorsports Park earlier this season. Graves has that win from New Smyrna in race number 3. And Laxton, Owlette, they're winless so far. Of course, Morgan, this is one of his first races of the season. He's winless. So a lot meshing right here just outside that top 10.
Absolutely. Looking like one side of a dice here as Parker Graves is in the middle of 2 wide battles in front and behind him. On board with Eric Tracy, Daniel folds to his outside. And maybe everyone's just starting to take it a little easier as we see the racing kind of smooth up just a little bit. A lot of side-by-side battles. Nobody's really getting too aggressive, I'll say, as I mean, we're looking all throughout the field. Here we're on board with Grant Brown. He's right behind Aaron Johnson. 2 drivers having really strong runs after, I wouldn't say the best race last week at Slinger, at least for Grant Brown. He could have seen better days last week. And one thing I would like to touch on too, our top 4 drivers in the championship, all inside the top 5 right now.
Yeah, the spoiler there is Kyle Eli, but want to highlight this 14 car for a moment because his sponsor is out in the YouTube chat. That is Misfit Productions, being very active this evening. Grant Brown announcing that deal. And of course, he's got big involvement with that bunch. They've got a series they run on iRacing as well, but cool to see some more involvement, more activation in the sim racing world between Grant Brown, his team, of course, Patriot Media Solutions, I believe, and Misfit Productions, getting into things in that 14 car. That said, you mentioned it up front. We've got a lot happening between these guys, and Eli is still defending over that 54 car. Harbert's now joining the party, though, despite that damage from that crash, and Cabry has to back out.
Yeah, I think he almost popped the curb right there going into turn 1. Cabry has been looking and searching for a way. Oh, he gets loose going through the corner, has to cut back down in front of Harbert's. That was almost too close for comfort there for Cole Cabry.
Still working on the 21 car, and I think, truthfully, that 21 is a little bit slower right now. Of course, he got that great launch off the start, able to use the outside line. I think that's going to be important later in this race. But Eli, I think, is just a little bit off compared to the rest of these guys in the top 5. Of course, the other guys in the top 5 are all championship contenders at this point in the season. So I definitely think Eli is kind of fighting an uphill battle. Cabry's going to get by at some point, just a matter of when, as that was lap 54 complete. We're a little over a third of the way through this race.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of racing. That's the great thing that I love about racing. It's not like baseball or football where the playoff teams play against the other playoff teams. Everyone competes against everyone every single week. So you see Cabry up the racetrack again, seeing if he can pull a crossover here. Look to the inside. Eli blocks down the backstretch. Harbert's to the top. That's going to give an open door to McCullum. They might just get dicey here, almost 3 wide. Cabry runs the middle line. Harbert's high. McCullum low again. They're looking and searching, trying to find a way to dispatch Kyle Eli.
And if you were eagle-eyed there, you can see just how high up the racetrack Ryan Kuhn is right now, and others are taking notice again. Cabry goes way up there that time. Look at Kuhn, way out at the gravel on the backstretch. Eli now going to go out there and try to defend from the top side of the racetrack, figuring if Ryan can do it, I can do it better. They're trying to hang on to that second spot.
Well, he's definitely doing a good job hanging on with Cole Cabry, who is inside, but now that here they are side by side, McCullum now trying to find a way around Harberts as well. And I think Cole Cabry is starting to realize as there's contact between second and third that he needs to make a move, and he needs to make a move now.
He's got
Eli still hanging. Harbert's on his
and there goes the
around.
21. That's going to send Jacob Harberts to the rear. That was contact straight off the nose of the 80. That is important. He just got into the championship fight with that win a week ago. That spin is going to drastically change this race and change this championship. That alleviates a lot of pressure on the two who are out front, McCullum and Cabry.
Absolutely, it does. And oh my goodness, I would not want to be Ryan Kuhn right now. He worked that lead out to almost a second. You would think that he's got him sitting there kicking himself, punching the air, thinking, why did it have to come out now? I was just hitting my stride.
And I don't know the answer, actually. I don't think we've had to talk about this yet this season because the bottom is usually the place to be. I don't think we have lane change, or I guess lane choice for the leader on these restarts. We may. I may be incorrect there. I don't think we do, but watch this one more time. 21 just gets tipped around. Harberts just got into him. And that will send car 80, I'm pretty certain, to the rear of the field. I think that penalty has to be coming here. I can't imagine, with those penalties being used, that he won't get one as Icy Eric Tracy into the pit lane. He's got to go down the backstretch pit lane. Not even the backstretch, but the back pit lane. Oxford's kind of weird in that it has 2 pit lanes, just like Bristol and a couple other short tracks. But
it's like a W.
Yeah, it runs through the infield in a weird way. You can see it here. Pit lane takes two different paths. We weren't crazy when we put this on the track map. That is the actual pit lane, even though it looks like a pair of sunglasses on the track.
Honestly, if you had to think about it, it looks like, as we're getting into those warmer months, it looks like a pair of goggles with a snorkel going in the mouth.
Well, here's Harberts. He's going to the rear like we thought. And with less than 100 laps to go, that's pretty impactful for sure. While we watch the 80 car go to the rear, a big shout out to 1-8 Coffee Company, Pedley's Garage, Here's Fleet Service, Race1Wraps.com, RS Center Trucking, SARA Next Gen Templates, SimWraps.com, or SimWrapMarket.com rather, Susan Media, Studio 10 Wraps, Toxic Media Solutions, and of course the next page here, we'll try to get them in quick. Boyd's Automotive, Crow Sim Shots, Davis Chassis Works, DriverTees.com, Fast AF Designs, Hides Pride Leather and Sheepskin, tonight's presenting partner, International Short Track Association, Jeff by Junior Art, Justin Brooks Designs, Matthews Designs. We are back green at Oxford, side by side for the race lead. Ryan Kuhn, Cole Cabry, McCullum in third.
This is where the race is really going to heat up. Top 3 in the championship now. Well, really, first, second, and fourth. Harberts is in the back now. Single file early on. Contact behind them. Johnson and Edwards trying to fight for it. Looks like Aaron Johnson is saying, I had a strong run last week. I want to keep it up. Let me through. Try to skip by fourth.
Johnson sporting the RKM colors on that 78 car. The 112. That's Devin Morgan down on the inside curb. He falls back a little bit, but now it gets right back to the inside of the 32, and I think there was contact between Traves and Brown that time through 3 and 4. But up ahead, Ryan Kuhn uncontested to a point as Devin Rogers is just ahead in that 2 car.
Yeah,
Going to take that top lane away from these guys.
Yeah, that's not going to be good for Ryan Kuhn. He's been really working that top line. He's been feeling it all out throughout the entirety of the race, and now he's going to start holding up all the other drivers behind him, but it's not going to do too much of effect as Gabri is still only a couple of tenths behind Ryan Kuhn.
Watching Rogers kind of fall back through the field. I'm surprised he's still up alongside 4th place Aaron Johnson. Edwards has fallen back to the 7th spot. Some more changes outside the top 10. That's Joe Schaefer Jr., Joe Owlett battling, John Owlett rather, battling at the back end of the top 10 on the right-hand side of your screen. And even Matt Rolfe and company getting racing. Matt Rolfe, Daniel Folds, Justin Laxton, Keith Jeffries. A big check up there on the bottom side.
Now, all the side-by-side racing, it's really starting to heat up. Even in the midfield, you know, this is one of the great things about the SARA Super Series. There's fighting all over the place. Nobody wants to give up track position. Nobody wants to surrender. I love it. I love the aggression. But at the same time, got to save some tires. We ride on board here with Kyle Meyer. Just look at how that high side works. I think Matt Rolfe tipped the curb a little bit there on exit as well. I'm loving how much the high side's rolling right now. I think these guys have worked something out. It's crazy to me to see it working, but I'm loving every second of it.
Certainly one of the more unique races this season is now just ahead of Joe Schaefer Jr. and John Owlett. You find that 2 car of Devin Rogers finding a spot in line. Interesting, though, that he goes down to the bottom between these guys, right behind Traves and right ahead of the 6 and 8 car as they do battle. Owlett going to win for the short term. Schaefer's still good on the top side. Out front, you're not really missing anything. They're running single file, but in the back half of the field, as we go past halfway, they are really mixing things up that time as well. Spencer Dickinson, right out of shape. He is new to the top 10 in points. Kyle Eli back here after his spin. He is fighting for 16th. Harberts is right behind him in that 18th spot. They're right around each other. Harberts, of course, with that penalty, has to go back to front.
Yeah, we see a 3 wide racing right in front of him. This is not what he needs to see, trying to get back to the front to gain as many points as possible so he can still stay in the championship fight. Look at Daniel Folds. Look at how much he's getting squeezed all the way up to that high line. And he's still trying to punch forward. And now Jacob Harberts is saying, I'm going to follow you right to the front.
Harbert's going up there in the 18th spot. Laxton now slow in the middle. And, oh, Daniel Folds went way out there. Harbert's still on the outside. He's trying to follow the 09 as Laxton is caught in the middle. Still no side-by-side up front. Nothing really changing there. We'll go there if we have to. But this fight in the back is going to have a lot of implications specifically for that 80 car. Again, he turned the 21. He got sent to the rear, and here he is trying to go back through the field. He's still, well, now 17th.
He's trying to find any possible way to get up there to the front. We see one car having a little bit of connectivity issues right in front. And look at this. I didn't expect to see this. Jacob Harberts is in 3rd gear. Usually you see drivers run the gears out, run it into 4th, and you just run it like that. But obviously with the custom setups, you're able to drag the gears out a little bit more. And obviously they can get more RPMs in the lower gears. There's a little bit of contact right there between Harberts and Laxton. There he goes through for what appears to be the 16th position.
Even beyond that, Zach, as we will flip up front, that does allow these guys to run.
Caution on the speedway.
Sure enough, right where we were just watching, Justin Laxton, and he's going to hit the wall again. A little eager to get back going, nails the outside fence. But that 3rd gear option, instead of running all 4, means they have fewer shifts on restarts. They probably restart in 2nd and just have that 1 upshift. As you see Laxton get tipped around by the 09 car of Daniel Folds. And there was more damage done after the caution was out and after the spin.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for just Laxton. He was having a good night, really. Not too much going on for him as we see there's the spin. Not sure how much contact there was there between him and Daniel Folds as he tries to get it back on. Taps the wall right there.
It was a little more than a tap.
Just a little kiss. You just got to tap it.
Ryan Kuhn gonna follow the pace car around. You see Devin Rogers. I'm getting mixed up between the two. Morgan is 4th. Rogers is 21st. And by the way, he's technically filling in for Parker Retzlaff, giving Retzlaff some points this season. At least I believe. He ran that 2-car last week. That's Retzlaff's number. Maybe I'll get corrected on that later. I don't know. But here comes Daniel Folds into the pit lane. He comes in for service. A few other cars in the pits. You see Thronberg back there. He's 2 laps down now. Not a whole lot to talk about in pit lane here, of course, in the series. They get no tire changes. Rare that you would need fuel, but we do see it on occasion where a race goes particularly green. Really, it's just there for repairs, Zach, but out front, talk about that point situation. Ryan Kuhn, he's 4th in the standings, and we can pull this back up as well. 4th in the standings. Harberts, who's 3rd, he is still in the back. He's 16th. You have Cabri and McCullum up here. They are 2nd and 3rd, right behind that 72 car on the racetrack as we speak. And right now, I think it would come out about even between Cabri and McCullum. Maybe still a point or 2 gap. What a battle we're going to have at Lanier next week.
Absolutely. This is going to be one big shakeup if Ryan Kuhn manages to win this race, and I hope he does because I want to see a big championship battle next week.
So a lot of racing to go. It is lap 90 of 150. We've got 60 to go on this green flag. Your top 10, Kuhn, Cavery, McCullum, Morgan, Johnson, Brown, Edwards, Traves, Schaefer, and Rolfe. Green flag back in the air at Oxford and the Hyde's Pride, 150. Working down the back straightaway into turn number 3. Inside McCullum, outside Cabri. That's the fight for second spot. Teammates from the shop fighting for second.
Yeah, at some point you got to realize we're still teammates, but we're fighting for the championship. We got to get after it as Aaron Johnson steps out underneath the 12 of Morgan. And Cabri is able to slot in right behind Alex McCullum. Now things shape up. If the caution comes back out again, Cabri will be the one on the inside working to fight around McCullum. You see all the drivers spreading out, single file, the first 4 cars.
A lot of tire wear now on these drivers' minds as they go back green after a handful of laps yellow. And they've got a lot less grip than they had early in this race. But McCullum bringing the fight right to Ryan Kuhn. Lap 94 complete. And they are just clicking off one by one, about 15 seconds in length. Very quickly, we're going to see this battle come to a precipice. And the 1 car, well, I might actually have a weight advantage now. He's a little bit lighter without that left front fender. And hey, maybe it's keeping that tire cool.
Just might. McCullum has still been fighting on. I thought for sure he would have taken that car to the pit lane after the wreck, maybe even lost some spots, but no, he kept that car up inside the top 10, and he is taking a much shallower entry into the corner than Ryan Kuhn is. That could really affect that right front tire as he's putting a lot more load onto it, not opening up the corners. But at the same time, Andrew, we've even seen a lot of the viewers tonight talking about it. We don't know how well that outside line's been on tire wear as you see McCullum really working those hands.
And I have to rethink, actually, what I said earlier about the outside using more tire. Of course,
caution on the speedway.
Yep, Dickinson, the 6 car. To finish my point, you would definitely imagine that the straightaways will wear these tires a bit more when they go off of that banking. At the same time, though, Zach, they're really opening up entry and exit. It might actually wear the tire less entry and exit. Dickinson just gets squeezed by Jeffrey like a pimple and goes for a quick spin on the front stretch. Nothing really going on there, just 2 cars racing, and 1 caught the curb.
Yeah, just tight racing. They're 3 wide, and it's hard to sometimes really understand that you've got a car underneath you and a car to your outside. You got to try to find a way to not run into either of them, and sometimes it gets to you a little bit.
And Jeffrey didn't do anything particularly wrong. We'll watch from the onboard here for Dickinson. The curve is a little bit irregular in the quarter. It's not perfect, and see it juts out just a little bit out of turn 4 right there where they made contact. That's just racing at Oxford. That should send the 88 to the rear, though, I would imagine. But up front, again, talking about that tire wear, I wonder how much it's actually a detriment, but we did not see McCullum go out to the outside much. Of course, he had that damage. He was kind of sitting back there. It's a big guessing game for us. I mean, these guys have the answers. I wish we could talk to them mid-race, but it's a big guessing game for us until lap 150 completes, and we can talk to these drivers as we've got 50 to go this time by.
you are not tuned in now, share this with your friends. Tell them to get on over here. We've got 50 laps to go at Oxford, and the championship could either be brought into play for 4 different drivers tonight, or we could see one driver extending his points lead. Oh, Andrew, I'm on the edge of my seat just thinking about it.
And Harberts, for reference, is back up at a 13th spot. He's still got a lot of work to do, especially in less than 50 laps, but I mean, props to the guy. He was down in 23rd when that restart went back green. He's made up 11 spots since then. Or I guess 10, technically. I'm trying to think how numbers would work in that case. Laps, it's one way. Positions, it's another. That's 10 spots. He's made up 10 spots. So definitely a big game changer for the 80 car. He's nearly back in the top 10. He can get some of these spots for sure. But, of course, as you work forward in this field, the passes are harder and harder to make. Out front, the hardest guys you'll have to pass all night. Ryan Kuhn, Alex McCullum, Cole Cabry, the other top 3 drivers in the points. They are top 3 for the restart. Green flag back out at Oxford.
And McCullum slots in. Look at that, Andrew. Oh, that is good. Restarting by Alex McCullum, able to fall in line, take second away from Cabry. Might have even let him in there.
I think he did. Cabry has looked a little bit off all night. I think that was Cole realizing the one is better. If you want to play the team card right now, which these guys would, going up against RKM, let the 72, or let the one car in, fight the 72, and maybe that battle comes back to Cole Cabry later in the race. If nothing else, Alex will cut him a break if he needs it.
Yeah, that's definitely playing the team game right there, I will say. Look at that, Aaron Johnson up into 4th still. He is really holding on, and Misfit Productions called it out. Grant Brown, 5th spot right now. Looking to take, I believe, his first win of the season, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, it'd definitely be the first win.
What
a save, maybe. Yeah, he's going to gather it up. Still kind of hanging onto the car. There we go. Grabs the car and gets it back on the racetrack. Car's 60. I think there was contact with Schaefer for a moment, but he'll grab a gear and go. For Grant Brown, I think this might be his first opportunity at a top 5. He might have one other this season. I know he's been up front a couple of times, but he's had a lot of bad luck. A couple of pretty poor runs just by bad things happening that weren't his fault. So this could be a really big day for that 14 car, as now you see Devin Morgan looking up underneath Brown, but still a big day regardless of that 14 with how he's running. A big Midwest driver popping in here, doing pretty solid here in the New England region of the season. 40 laps to go. Traves defending over John Owlett. That's for 9th spot. Out front, again, we're to the point where nothing is changing, but Harberts, meanwhile, is 11th.
He's coming, Andrew. He is not going to be denied the championship fight. He wants to stay in it, and he is trying everything he possibly can to get back up there, looking around the outside, the inside, any way he can. He's definitely faster than these drivers.
Riding on board with car 80, listening the motor. And he will fight to the outside of the 8 of Owlett. And the top, I said it earlier, the top would be important. Then it wasn't, and then it suddenly has been for the last 100 laps. But the top really is, I think, the place to be right now. This late in the race, you can make some hay up there, and the 80 will, looks like, pass the 8. Might even put the 63 wide in the middle.
This is getting juicy.
Here comes the 80. He's working on 9th now, trying to get by that 60. And there's chaos behind these guys. 2, 3 wide. Meyer into Tracy. The 66 going to catch it, but Meyer's going to get tipped. They keep it green. No, caution.
Yellow's out.
Kronberg got jacked up for the 2nd time tonight. He got rear-ended and sent sky high in that opening crash. Meyer that time, he got into Tracy in the 66 and then got jacked up, I think. Well, it wasn't by the 22. It might have been, was it Laxton that got into him? We'll find out.
Let's see here, Kyle Meyer. He's running a good line.
This is just before everything happened. So watch the 88 here. He's going to get into the 66, I believe, right there. He checks up. It was Thronberg. Oh, it was Thronberg that got into him, and Thronberg got jacked up by Jeffries in that checkup. So not much EOLing to do to the 22 car, but that will certainly have a pretty big impact on this race. Thronberg, I can't even blame him, though. He was sitting behind him, and they just stacked up on his nose. Got Rogers outside. Meyer just stopped. As you're accelerating, he had to check up pretty big.
Yeah, just unfortunate circumstances. I don't think you could really place any blame on one particular driver there. The accordion effect is so common, as we've seen throughout the season, and we see multiple drivers heading down the front stretch pit lane, getting some service. Daniel Folds doing everything he can to stay in this race, but I think the one thing that's helping out here is these quick cautions are keeping these leaders close together. But if you're Jacob Harbers, I don't think you really want to be seeing this. He is relying on these green flag laps to keep passing cars. But being on the inside, you never know, Andrew, it might work out for him.
5 cautions for working on 25 laps, 2 lead changes. Pretty important ones as well. Harbert's 9th, I believe, as you mentioned, and Ashby, Jeremy Ashby from the RKM camp. Remember, he got into Alex McCullum to start that lap 2 crash. Ashby has parked it for the night. He now goes a lap down and will continue to go laps down. He will end up taking, it looks like, 24th spot because Curtis is back on the racetrack. He's 6 laps down. Thronberg is out there 2 laps down, and Folds has already passed him. So the 01 will sink down the order. Up front, though, we'll have 30 to go this time. I recall a few restarts ago it was 60 to go. Now it's 30 to go. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty.
That we are, Andrew. Ryan Kuhn still leads. McCullum, Cabry, Johnson, Grant Brown. Your top 5. Who's going to win it here tonight?
Here we go. Back to the restart zone. Kuhn inside, McCullum outside. Green flag. Back out in the Hyatt's Pride 150. Love this perspective when we can use it. Morgan got into 78. The 78 dives down there. Grant Brown going to slot in line, but he will drop to 6th as that 112 is going forward on the top side of the racetrack.
Look at that. Devin Morgan out here on the outside trying to find a way through. He's left Grant Brown in the dust. 2/10 clear, and he's side by side with Aaron Johnson trying to find a way through. I think he's finally starting to realize, well, if they can do it up there, I can do it too. Trying to find a way around. Falls back in line in front of Grant Brown. Very close.
Solid move to get in line. Now Harbert's back here. He's working on 8th. He's got to get by Joe Schaefer Jr. for it. All right, this is pretty tough company now. I said earlier, as you go higher up through the field, it gets harder and harder to pass. That's just kind of how it works. But he's finding some really difficult resistance here. Schaefer and Edwards, they each have a race win this season. Brown, Morgan, and Johnson are the only 3 ahead of him that don't have wins yet. Well, I guess and Cabry because of the penalty last week. Kind of forgot about that, but minor details.
The minor stuff we tend to look over sometimes.
Oh, no. But, hey, we're stacking up the 3rd spot. Cabry starting to hold up that 78. And when these guys get stacked up at a place like Oxford, man, the room is going to run out quick as you see Curtis dive down to the pit lane. And there we go. Tracy in the 66. He is our most recent spinner. He goes down to pit lane. That's going to be a penalty for him as he jumps over the curbs. Not how I would have done it, but hey, we're green flag.
That is not what I expected to see, but he's well and clear of the leader, so it's not like he's going to get involved in their fight. And no, Andrew, we talked about it earlier, the tire wear. Now we're starting to see where it's coming into play. Look at Alex McCullum and Ryan Kuhn. They've jumped out real far, and Harberts is still committed to working that outside line. He's up to 8th now, trying to find a way around Trevor Edwards.
Got by Schaefer on the bottom. Now he's working on Edwards, who won at Nashville. And the 80, of course, now has that race win credited to him from Slinger. Obviously, by circumstance. He was definitely good enough to win that race. It just came down to certain events that took the win away from Cole Cabry. But now we have a fight that actually might help Harberts get back forward with this 54 car slowing down as we hit 20 to go.
Yeah, look at Cabry still holding up that bottom line. He is now way off of those leaders. He's more than a second behind Alex McCullum. And the rest of these drivers are much, much faster. And they want to get around. But Cabry knows that he needs to stay in the championship fight. He needs to do everything he can. But this fighting, Andrew, is heating up as Harberts is now finally getting around Edwards, and he might just try to come down and get clear. He's going to lead the lane, but he is well and clear. Trevor Edwards up to 7th.
The 80 car grabbing some more points as he works through this field. Behind him, they are jacked up all over the place. Kyle Meyer down low of Matt Rolfe. Rolf was around 10th at one point. He's back to 15th. Joe Schaefer Jr. sliding back as Kyle Eli marches back through the field. He's up to 10th. There's a lot of caution potential still around the field as we hit 16 to go this next time by, and Johnson's starting to get antsy behind that 54.
Yeah, he wants to find that way around. Cabry's just holding him up at this point. See Aaron Johnson looking around that outside. He's fighting hard. I don't think he's going to be able to get to him, but now he has to leave the lane as more drivers are falling in behind. But I think Devin Morgan realizes that it's time to go as well. Grant Brown trying to see if he can sneak through as well.
78 way out high that time. He saw the hands correct through the window net. And you're right, Morgan trying to go somewhere, Brown trying to go somewhere, and Harberts has used his tires up so much, he's not closing on these guys right now. I think he's about matching Cabry on lap times. Let's see, yeah, almost identical that last lap, just a few hundredths apart.
Yeah, and look at Cabry, he's dropped so far behind. He's almost 2 seconds behind Ryan Kuhn. Even McCullum's dropped half a second behind Ryan Kuhn.
What did I say earlier about Kuhn being fast on the long run on flat tracks like this?
That he's really putting in the work tonight, getting some practice in for this weekend. He's racing a super late model here at Oxford Plains.
He said it before, he'll do it again. I'm sure he'll do good in that race. He's on his way to a win here this evening. It would be his second win of the season, finally. It's been a long time between wins for him. Of course, he wants to get back to victory lane.
Don't jinx it now.
I believe it was the first race of the season at Kern that he won. He has not won since, I don't believe. I'm going to check that fact. Matt Rolfe has stats lined up for me. I'm not even using them. I'm going to check that, but I don't think he's won since Kern. As it's Parker Traves, and he gets hit by the 2 car of Rogers.
What do we say about jinxing it, Andrew?
We tend to do it. Can confirm, Ryan Kuhn won at Kern earlier this season, that season opening race that we didn't catch. We had prior commitments with the North American Racing League. Traves got a little sideways earlier in the corner, got tipped around by the 32 of Trevor Edwards, and a couple of cars hit him going by. Let's get a couple more looks at this. Edwards had fallen back here. He was dropping now almost outside the top 10. Clearly the shop guys might have figured it might be a little more caution than this, and fewer green flag laps because their cars have fallen off a cliff.
It was very hard to prevent that, to be perfectly honest, Andrew. You saw Traves getting loose, and you saw Edwards. He saw it, heads up driving from Trevor Edwards, but everyone stacked behind him, and it just pretty much pushed him into it. You see here, there's the loose. Edwards checks up,
yeah,
and everyone just piles in.
Yeah, I can't put that on Edwards. He got hit by the 21 of Eli. Rogers gets the 60 late, and Traves is going to have some big damage out of that. Let's catch that from the 2 car of Rogers quickly. On board, but behind 1 car. And yeah, just nowhere to go for him. Well, how does this sort out? I do hope there's no penalty for Edwards, just because he was not the deciding factor in the 60 going for a spin. But up front, of course, laps dwindling. It's go time. If you have anything left on those tires, if you're the 154, hell, even the 78, the 112, you got to use it now. That might go without explanation. But also, if you're Jacob Harberts here, what can you do to go forward? We've seen this on board a lot as he's, walked through the field. It's been a tough road, but he's back in the top 7, looking for the top 5. So laps have properly wound down. A quick look at what's upcoming for us at Pit Stop TV. We'll talk more about it later, but this is the graphic for you. Next week, we head out to Caffeine and Octane Linear Raceway, or rather in 2 weeks, on May 9th. In the meantime, a couple of Icon Cup Series races at Dover and Kansas matching the NASCAR Cup Series. It'll be 4 laps to go, this time by restart zone coming for the Hyde's Pride 150. Green flag back in the air. And a spinner in the back, cautions out. McCullum was there, though, on the 72. That was maybe his best restart yet. Didn't quite catch who went around, but we'll watch from Fold's perspective, and I'm sure we'll find out Oh my! Whoa! That was Rogers in the wall. He's gonna get hit from behind. But here's Aaron Rodgers on the replay, Zach. This is pretty significant. He just was slow and got absolutely nailed by the 66.
It's unfortunate circumstances there for Devin Rogers. I mean, I don't really know what to say there because that's just a blatant hello, see ya, goodbye.
I think he missed the shift. And he got sent to the Shadow Realm, as they say. I mean, that was a big, big hit. We'll listen on board with Rogers. He was actually just back on the lead lap not so long ago. Here's the in-car audio. Listen. Yeah, the shift hung up. You can watch the tack, too. Got hung up on a gear, and, I mean, grind it till you find it. He clearly didn't find it. And Zach, we're in SARA overtime. If you are new to overtime rules for oval racing and iRacing in general, this is how it works. Just like the NASCAR National Series, granted we only get 2 attempts, but if the first lap is completed without a caution, there's 2 laps. I gotta preface this whole thing. There's 2 laps now. Green, white, checkered. A green lap, a white lap, and then checkered flag. If the green lap is completed before the white flag comes out, the race is official. If we get a caution in that first lap, that green lap, we'll re-rack them and do it all over again. Just once though, Zach. Only 2 green, white checkers. This is one of them. Only one more chance after this.
Yeah, that doesn't leave a lot of opportunity, especially if you're Alex McCollum. Look at Aaron Johnson. He was able to get past Cole Cabry. He's up to 3rd now. Grant Brown in the 5th position. They're both very, very fast, poised to take some position here. I look to see them passing both those shop cars up on the top line.
See what happens here. Restart zone on the way. Cabry lost a spot. Green flag back in the air. It is Kuhn and McCullum. He's there this time. Ryan Kuhn gonna pull away though. Aaron Johnson now filling the gap down low. McCullum caught on the outside. Cabry's falling back. Johnson wants to get in there. 1 lap to go. White flag is out. Brought to you by Whiplash Simcams. Side-by-side fight for second as Ryan Kuhn slaps the field once more. He goes purple that lap to take the white flag, and he will take the checkered this time. Welcome back to SARA Victory Lane 72. Ryan Kuhn finally grabs the win. We've been calling him out for the last, it felt like 9 races. And McCullum will just take second.
What a race. What an absolute thriller.
Incredible. And Cabry dropped to 5th. That's going to be a big hit to him. That's going to be, what, 4 points he loses on the 1 car? That's a big, big deal as see these guys getting lined up on the front stretch. Grant Brown and Aaron Johnson lining up behind him. But a big, big win for Ryan Kuhn to go back to victory lane. And that's got to feel like a win even for Grant Brown. We talked about him looking for maybe his first top 5. He goes 4th as Aaron Johnson goes 3rd. Those 2 cars getting by the 54 late here. Devin Morgan will fill in. Let's just go back and get a look at our unofficial race results. Gotta say unofficial again, just in case. But race results on your screen. Ryan Kuhn with the win. Alex McCullum 3rd, or 2nd rather. Aaron Johnson 3rd. It was real close at the line between those 2. Grant Brown 4th. Cole Cabry 5th. Devin Morgan, Jacob Harbert, Spencer Dickinson, Trevor Edwards, and Kyle Eli just gets back into the top 10. Harbert's very important there in 7th. Nearly got 6th. Couldn't quite get there.
Yeah, you got to feel for Jacob Harbert. He was having a great run tonight, and it really hurt him, especially when it came to the tires, just trying to get back up there, claw away at the points. McCullum should extend his points lead over Cabry and Harbert's, but Ryan Kuhn definitely doing everything he can to reel everyone back in. Joe Schaefer Jr., Kyle Meyer, Matt Rolfe, Keith Jeffrey, and John Allett. They're going to be 11th through 15th, and then Aaron Abendroth, Justin Laxton, who went around early on, Eric Tracy, who also had a few spins, 16th, 17th, and 18th here tonight. Eric Tracy, Daniel Folds, Parker Traves, rounding out your top 20 here tonight, with all of those drivers all having issues towards the end of the race tonight.
Last page here, just 5 cars on it. Some heartbreak. I mean, Thronberg there was able to hang on to the end in 21st. He at least grabbed 4 spots from the first caution, where he went 3 laps down. Then Rogers, Curtis, Ashby, and Bates all called it quits a little bit early. But we will bring in driver 72, Ryan Kuhn, back to victory lane. He does it somewhere that he's getting awfully familiar with. You're here this weekend, Ryan. You finally get a win again. How's it feel?
Yeah, about time, right? I feel like I should have won about 2 more of these this season, but finally got the job done again. Car was really good. Didn't fire off that great, but right at the end, it was a bullet. So those cautions did nothing but help me. So it was really good. Thanks to Alex and everyone else for racing us clean. I'm so happy that outside worked as good as it did.
And I seem to recall the 72 being particularly good on the long run on these flat tracks, and that definitely was a big deal this evening. It fired off pretty good, though, too, and you found that top side before anybody else. How does that, I mean, that can't work in your real car this weekend, right? I mean, how does that work here on iRacing?
Oh, it will. You'd be surprised in real life. If you have a really good car in real life, you can work that outside lane. It's a little different in real life, but in real life it's a little bit freer up there. But it seemed like on here a little tighter, so it's kind of a little backwards. But I mean, it still worked just like it would in real life. You run the same line, and like it wasn't like the second groove work. It was like the third lane that works, just like real life too. So I love that. I know they did some stuff to this racetrack. I love that. And then on top of that, a lot of rubber was laid down in the new dynamic track system. Made this track actually probably one of the best tracks now in the sim, from what I've heard from other comments, especially from the Contender Series last night. So that's a huge improvement with this place. And I know a lot of people do not like this place, but I hope a lot more people like it now.
Definitely a fun race this evening. I'm surprised. I mean, I've caught a few races up at Speedway 95 and up at Unity in my day, but I haven't been to Oxford yet. I guess I'd be in for a treat. I mean, this was a really cool race. You're talking about the crossover real to virtual. How's the program going for this weekend? Where can we expect you to finish?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's a new to us car, so we just trying to throw some new stuff at it. And you know, I've never driven this car before, so I don't know how it's going to end up. But I'm excited to be back with the American Canadian Tour at Oxford. That series is always fun to race with. Chris Machad and everyone at ACT does the hell of a job with that series, bringing in the car counts that they do, and the purses being bumped up. That's only going to help. So props to Chris Machad and Tom Mayberry, everyone with PASS and ACT and Oxford Plains. They're doing a hell of a job. So I don't know. Hopefully we go good. But right now it's a big unknown.
Well, Ryan, good to talk to you again. Finally in victory lane. It's been a while. Best of luck at Lanier. Suddenly you're right back in the game.
I hope so, man. I hope so. Thank you.
That's driver 72 this evening after finally getting that monkey off his back, finally going back to victory lane, Zach, and he does it right ahead of car 1.
Yeah, Alex McCullum pulling off a great race tonight. Didn't get the win, but it wasn't for lack of trying, Alex. You did a great job. Keep that car in contention, all without the left front fender, too. Did that have anything to do with keeping the tires cool while you were trying to race up there in the front?
I want to say, yeah, a little bit, because I got tighter later than my teammates there, so, and we're all in the same stuff, so I think it helped a little bit throughout the run, but I just got too tight at the end to do anything with Kuhn there.
Yeah, we noticed a lot of these drivers were struggling with tire wear at the end, and you know, it's been a tough road, I will say, for you. You had quite the interesting last 2 weeks. You took a week off to go out to Spring Nationals for U.S. Legend Cars, and you know, as a fellow U.S. Legend Car competitor, I sure would like to get out there at some point, but I hope you had a really great time. And speaking on that, do you think you're not going to suffer in any way when it comes to this championship after taking the weekend off to go out to Spring Nats?
It definitely didn't help, but I was kind of shocked when I looked at the points. I thought I was going to be like 30 or 40 back, but I was only, I think, 6 back from the lead, just missing last week. And then that incident happened with Cole there, and he had 5 positions docked, and then had 4 points go in the lead tonight, and then I think running second tonight helped a little bit. I think Kuhn probably gained quite a bit on us because I think he had a clean race, qualified second, and I think had the most laps led. So it's still far from over. It's got to run next week, as I always do there.
Well, a solid position in the championship for Spring Nats, and still in a solid position to win this championship here next week going into Lanier. Great race here tonight, Alex, and really, we wish you the best of luck moving forward into next week.
Thank you.
I do want to jump in real quick. Looking over, I get this link now from Matt Rolfe right at the end of the broadcast. Unofficial point standings. Alex, you still have a 13-point lead. I say still. You open it up over Cole by quite a bit. 9 points over him now. So 13 total over Cole. Ryan Kuhn did catch. He only made 4 points up on you, though. I don't know if that's before bonuses are figured in. I'm not sure. That's probably going to change a little bit. But unofficial standings, you still have a hell of a lead. Best of luck next week.
Thank you. Yeah, it'll be tough. We're usually really good at Linear, but the Super's been really weird lately, so I think we're going to be really good at Linear. I always have really good stuff there, so if we hit it on the money, we're going to be really good. If not, we're going to be struggling, so we'll see. I mean, we have 2 of the shop cars going for the championship here, and then I think Ryan's right behind us, so it should be a really good battle between the 3 of us. I mean, we're all 3 of us are really fast, so it's pretty much going to be whoever has a better day. We're all, I think, fairly equal drivers, so you just have to be at the right position at the right time.
Absolutely. Ryan Kuhn, second spot this evening. And we didn't get to talk to him about that lap 2 crash, Zach. I mean, there's a lot to talk about around that one car right now. That left front missing at the end, but solid. I say missing at the end. Solid day. He didn't have a left front all day long. But we can bring in third place finisher Aaron Johnson. And Aaron, we spoke to you once before earlier, not even this season technically. We talked to you at Hickory, I believe. Regardless, 78 car on rails this evening. You moved up through the field. It looked like methodically matching the pace of the 72 at one point. How'd the car feel?
Ryan gave me a great piece there at the end. I think if we had a couple more laps, I think I could have had something for him. But, you know, I'm static for a third place finish. I think that ties my best finish in Super Series. So I just need a couple more positions.
Yeah, you nearly had a best finish then. If you match your best finish tonight with third, you nearly had a better finish at second. Could you have done anything different to beat McCollum to the line?
Not get too happy at the end, throttle happy right there. I ain't never beat McCollum before, and trying to get there, I just got too throttle happy right there, so I tried.
Well, Aaron, it's good to talk to you again. It's been a minute. Can you call your shot maybe for Lanier next week? I mean, you're into the top 10 in points now, kind of climbing up there. Of course, your teammates is somebody who's trying to go for the long shot championship to go back-to-back. Where can we expect to see you guys as a whole next week at Lanier?
Well, hopefully we're up there battling for the win again. But we'll see when we get there. I'm not trying to call no shots or anything, but I hope the 78 crew and all RKM, we're ready for it.
Well, I tried to get him to call a shot there, Zach. But Aaron, thanks for talking to us. Best of luck next time out.
I appreciate it, buddy.
I tried to get him to call a shot, but being quite reserved. And this was the moment where he almost had second. Alex actually opened it up and ran wide here to the line. I don't know if Aaron got loose off of 4.
Oh, he definitely got loose. He dirt tracked it off of 4. Watch it right here. See that rear end kicking out? He was going all out to get that spot, and Alex just said, you know what? I'm just going to drive it straight.
For most of that white flag lap, Aaron had second, I think. At least the back half of the lap, and then lost it there just from 4 to the checkers. But still a very solid day for him, and a solid day all around. Really fun race to watch this evening. Really fun race to talk about. And I think this will be one we look back on in the championship picture as a whole. Next time out, we go to Lanier, Zach, and I've been saying next week. It's in 2 weeks on May 9th, so an extra week for these guys to prep. Lanier is going to be fun.
Oh, absolutely. I'm very much looking forward to Lanier. And I know you have the unofficial mock-up of the points going into next race, but, you know, it's really weird of me to say it this way because I don't know if I should say it this way, but do you think, retrospectively speaking, we could place, even though he won tonight, Ryan Kuhn as the underdog going into next race?
Yeah, I haven't phrased it that way to trying to think to Aaron. I really do think that he's the underdog going into next week just by virtue of where he is in the standings. I think even Cabry is a bit of an underdog. Really, it's Alex's championship to lose once again. And we thought after Slinger last week it'd be Cole's to lose, and it completely changes here this evening at Oxford. That's the way things go in racing, I guess. But yeah, this is Alex's championship to lose. You can almost call both of them underdogs, and Harbert's just about out at 26 points back. I suppose he could still win, technically, but it would take a lot for car 80 to win the championship. But definitely a different picture going into Linear next week than we had this week. We'll talk more about that, of course, next time out. In the meantime, well, race info quickly. Let's recap that. 7 cautions for 34 laps. We had a few there at the end. 2 lead changes. Once Ryan took over, he was gone. But upcoming broadcasts here at Pit Stop TV, a look around. It's pretty light, actually, for the next little short period. We go to Dover this week, then nothing for a week between Dover and Kansas, the Icon Cup Series, and then we head out to Linear, Caffeine and Octane Linear Raceway for this SARA Super Series for their championship round. And then, Zach, it's not on the graphic yet, but we'll actually have a full week before we go back racing with SARA when we go to North Wilkesboro for their National Series event. I gotta think. 1-8 Coffee Company National Series will go to North Wilkesboro for their next event of the season. Not a whole lot of racing, I guess, technically, but a lot of good racing, I'll say, coming up next.
A lot of great places to follow along. Facebook.com/PitStopTV, Instagram.com/pit_stop_TV, Twitter.com or X.com, whichever you prefer. It's a weird way of thinking about it, but hey, we're all still trying to get used to it. Twitter.com/PitStopTV_, Twitch.tv/pit_stop_TV. Finally back on Twitch, the main place, the best place, the great place to watch Pit Stop TV. YouTube.com/PitStopTV1, and the newest place to watch Pit Stop TV, Kick.com/PitStopTV1. Someone get me a drink, because that was one tall order.
You know, I haven't been able to get my drink at all this evening. I just took a sip of root beer for the first time since probably lap 10. I don't usually go for root beer, but Kayla found a pretty solid one. That's my beautiful fiance allows me to do that. Zach, as we wrap up here this evening, thank you for being here. It has been a pleasure as always. Good to have you along. Hopefully we have you for the finale here in a couple of weeks. Hopefully we have you for a few more Icon races and beyond. There's a lot going on here at Pit Stop TV always, even if the schedule's a bit lighter. Make sure to tune in for all those events as we talked about. For now, though, from Oxford Plains Speedway, this is it for the SARA Pierce Fleet Service Super Series in week number 10 for the Hides, Pride, Leather, and Sheepskin 150. Make sure to tune in for this next event in 2 weeks for the RS Center Trucking 150. Otherwise, make sure to tune in for these upcoming Icon Cup Series races. It has been a pleasure this season for both series, but a lot of fun, a lot of great racing over there as well. So if you're into this oval racing thing, you'll like those races as well. A big shout out to all the partners who make these possible in audio: ATVO, Whiplash, SimCams, OBS, and iRacing.com on your screen. That's it for us from Oxford Plains, though. Truly, I'm losing it here at the back end of the broadcast. We'll see you next time, hopefully, at the Icon Cup Series race at Dover. If not, we'll see you at Linear.